The two biggest absolute travesties of the NBA, so much for the so-called super teams trying to recruit other stars and contending for championships only to get absolutely backfired, roasted, destroyed, humiliated, laughed at from two of the very best players in the game throughout most of the last decade. Now LeBron James and Kevin Durant still giving their 30 plus points on a consistent basis, empty stats at its finest, two of the worst teams to start the season, all the drama, outside noise, stupidity, the NBA's biggest cloud circus, non-stop talked about what should the Lakers do, to making fun of Westbrook, and the weak pathetic skill to shoot Ben Simmons in 2021 after the Lakers acquired so-called superstar Ross, to Brooklyn having supposedly the so-called best big three ever assembled, to now viewed as a 500 play-in team. Everybody will be held accountable for the collapses of these two teams. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. After winning the bubble title in dominating fashion, less than 2 years later, that championship squad blown up, James and Davis to no surprise the only two guys remaining on the Laker roster, the pressure being part of a LeBron-led team, expectations of reloading, getting more pieces, bigger names, the constant hunt only gets bigger, trying to land every big name star's expectations to get even better. Every GM has heavy loads on their shoulder, with LeBron on the team also loving to run things, trying to chase Jordan status, got rid of solid 3-and-D Danny Green for Dennis Schroeder who couldn't play with Bron, lacked outside shooting, then signed Wesley Matthews, renewed KCP, good choices. Rich Paul undercutting Montrezl Harrell's deal only to not fit in with LeBron, and lost tons of money as a liability on D, traded JaVale away, landed an aging Marc Gasol, re-signed veteran Jared Dudley, good locker room presence, Rondo and Dwight Howard gone. Still a great team before the injuries to James and Davis hampered the regular season, dropped to the play-in, even acquired Andre Drummond to promising him a starting role only to be benched and receiving DMPs in the playoffs. James and Davis back to looking sharp against Phoenix, took a 2-1 series lead, a repeat seemed to be on the horizon until Davis went down game 4, fell to the team with more consistent chemistry, plus the overreaction of the first round defeat where the Lakers could have just added more shooters and defenders, to DeMar DeRozan thinking he was a lock to sign for his hometown squad, to all of a sudden seeing the net scary big three, the only super team at the time. Of course, the Lakers wanted to match Brooklyn talent for talent, a potential finals matchup talked about non-stop, having the second best odds, championship or bust. Everyone knew about the spacing concerns, Westbrook only effective with the ball in his hands, and James just being better at every aspect of the game and always the main guy on his team. Any third option who plays with LeBron must take a back seat, either fit in or fit out, and Russ simply a disaster, the scapegoat, blamed for everything, the memes, as shitty as any season a player went through in recent times. Just before heading into the 21-22 season, Rob Pelinka at the height of his praise, from getting rid of the third best player in the bubble KCP, the heavily criticized Kyle Kuzma, and Montrezl who lost a lot of value but still a great numbers regular season guy, traded for Westbrook who dragged the Wizards to the postseason, added the solid offensive Carmelo Anthony, young Malik Monk on a bargain, balled out better than expected, a washed up Trevor passed around like a blunt Ariza, traded more times over the previous year than points per game average for the Lakers, signed old Wayne Ellington, brought back Rondo and Dwight 1 year too late. Kendrick how many games last season? None. Didn't watch enough of the atrocious washed up DeAndre Jordan. Of course, later a wave, former big name outside shooters who's aging, plus some size to help out AD, trying to figure out who plays would be a heavy work in progress. Super old roster with potentially 6 future Hall of Famers depending on what you think of Rondo. With the lack of defense, no young legs from the old players combined with Westbrook, the team never got anything going. James injured third game of the season, sidelined for 2 games, then in a domino strain which took longer to heal than expected, missed 12 of the team's first 23 games. The main reason why the Lakers acquired Russ, to dominate games where LeBron would rest given his age, but the team record just 12-11 overall. Westbrook's numbers didn't look terrible on paper to start, over 28-8, but nearly 5 turnovers, 44.5% shooting, Davis over 24, 10 assists, 2.5 blocks, but the 26 and 19 point blown leads to OKC atrocious. The start of the massive Westbrook criticism, Davis got his, but not enough after getting destroyed by Giannis, dropped 47 on his head, made the Greek Freak look like Will Chamberlain out there, and Davis just a random big play in the 60s. Despite the early struggles, delusional fans making excuses, wait till Trevor Ariza or Kendrick Nunn's back, when the team's weak defensive quality is a huge concern. With or without those players, Davis the only above average defender on the team, having Melo, Monk and Russ on the floor at the same time. On the opposite end, an absolute disaster. The peak of the team's season, going 16-13 through 29 games, still not that great, but lots of hope, only to go 17-36 the rest of the way. The accidental injury of LeBron pushing Jaden McDaniel to Anthony Davis, resulting in a knee injury out a month. Westbrook relied upon to step up. The LeBron rush still a total disaster. James still put up the heavy numbers instead of focusing on D as the leader of the team. Took breaks most defensive possessions unless it was for a chase down block. Team signed Stanley Johnson out of desperation. LeBron played some of the 5 from December 19th to January 19th. 6-9 overall. Russ way worse than imaginable playing with LeBron altogether. Awful numbers of under 17 points, 26% from 3, 66 from the line. LeBron only made himself look good. Monster numbers of nearly 33, 9 and 6. Extended fourth quarter garbage time to pump up those numbers. Russ bench in the fourth, a game versus the Pacers, with the trade deadline causing more distractions. His value dropped heavily. Nobody wanted him. Team didn't want to attach a draft pick. Davis then suffered an ankle injury 3 weeks after coming back, devastated the Lakers' hope of getting a top 6 seed. LeBron and Russ together's chemistry just a dumpster fire. Davis just sadly played 3 more games after. LeBron himself knew he wasn't getting anywhere with Russ, fell out the play-in instantly. Not available against the better teams towards the end versus Denver, Phoenix, and Golden State. Didn't want any backlash of returning to play against a bad OKC team and trying to chase the scoring title. A disgusting 33-49 record, one of the biggest disappointing seasons all time. Frank Vogel knew he was going to get fired at any point, only to find out from Woj's tweet when he wasn't even informed straight up from the organization. The combination of a crappy front office to signing Westbrook, overreacting to losing to Phoenix when they were clearly banged up, players having huge egos of their own like Russ, who loved his stats, simply cannot play and fit with LeBron. His biggest weaknesses are what the team desperately needed. Continue failing this past offseason, replace Monk with Lonnie Walker. Biggest transaction traded for Patrick Beverley, who bricked threes heavily. Got back Dennis Schroeder, no outside shooting whatsoever, super poorly constructed, another disaster of a season. Missing the play-in wouldn't shock me. Darvin Ham working with a dysfunctional roster, absolutely abysmal. Who would have ever thought? Even LeBron James in his 20th season, at any point of his career, would be on a team with the very worst record in the league for a day's span. Unfathomable. Combined with the hostile environment, the disgruntled, spoiled fan base, demanding nearly unrealistic and perfect expectations, trying to say Anthony Davis better than Tim Duncan? Fuck out of here with that statement. All that noise also adds more pressure on the players, resulting in poor performances. The fans act like the franchise should run the NBA, sending Danny Green death threats, made fun of KCP, bully Kyle Kuzma. All those same fans will go on their knees right now begging for all of them to come back, while the Brooklyn absolute travesty Nets actually do have talent, a more balanced roster, an absolute abomination with the heavy distractions of Kyrie, unreliable Irving, who's caused more harm and outside noise than helping the team win games. 2 of the most unhappy superstars of this generation, but offensively gifted. Basketball poetry at its finest, high individual offensive skill sets, has everything as a perfect score to their game as one can possess. June 30th, 2019, one of the most iconic off seasons. The Nets weren't even an option months before, as Nick rumors kept intensifying. Both went to a playoff caliber team with promising young talent that build up, championship expectations. Durant looking to prove he can win without Golden State. Kyrie still trying to get off the image that LeBron made him, and he was nothing without LeBron, which still stands true to this very day according to many. It was James who led Irving to 3 straight finals, and even made it back to one without him. KD and Kyrie signing already a little controversial. An Achilles tear forced Durant to miss the entire 2020 season, a huge gamble for Brooklyn already. With Irving showing bipolar tendencies with Boston, the team clearly better without him on the floor, worse with him. Another red flag, signing 4 years $40 million to washed up DeAndre Jordan only cause the 2 stars loved him as a friend. Nash even starting him over the better and younger Jarrett Allen. The team made the postseason without KD after Kyrie got shoulder surgery, elected to not play in the bubble, even advocated to go on strike. Being VP of Players Union wasn't that big of a deal since Brooklyn was gonna lose in round 1 anyway. Got rid of decent head coach Kenny Atkinson for the zero experienced Steve Nash, buddy as a consultant with Golden State, close with Durant. Those 2 stars absolutely had to put on the coaching change. After nearly 18 months since the 2 finally joined together, got on the floor since the 2 signed, Nash instant coaching issues, finally got fired to nobody's surprise. Shouldn't have been put a head coach in the first place. KD and Nash's relationship badly affected, the perfect example of getting your buddy to work with you only to do a terrible job, showing flaws the first few weeks. With James Harden wanting out of Houston, the Nets pulled the trigger in a 4-team trade, got rid of the likable Jared Allen, solid Karis LeVert, Taurean Prince, Radio Kurus, 3 first, 4 first-round swaps. A move desperately needed to go Drew, with Philly competing for the Harden sweepstakes, Spencer Dinwiddie out for the year, and Kyrie with his personal DNPs. A 7-6 record, things weren't looking so good. Then Durant out for 7 months with injury, Harden carried most of the load. There weren't many concerns, given the ridiculous load of talent expected to steamroll to the championship. At the peak of their powers versus Boston, all 3 insane numbers, only to be short-lived. First possession of the semis, Harden sprained his hamstring after having issues in the regular season, up 2-0 versus the Bucks. Joe absolute travesty Harris, an awful $90 million signing contract, just as bad as Duncan Robinson's. 3 points, 1 of 11 of game 3, wide open bricks after bricks, resulted in the Drew Holiday go-ahead bucket. Kyrie then sprains his ankle game 4, out for the series. Harden forced to come back on one leg in severe pain, perhaps playing 46 minutes game 5 damaged him all of next season. An all-time performance by Durant, but KD's big toe on the line game 7, the likely defining moment that resulted for the 2021 title. Nothing left in the tank in OT. Despite the loss, the big 3 barely played. Everyone knew a healthy Brooklyn's team would have destroyed anybody. Tons of optimism heading to next season, which was why the Nets were the title favorites. Added sharpshooter Patty Mills and old Paul Millsap, re-signed Bruce Brown, Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge unretired to give it another go, got rid of DeAndre Jordan's contract, assistant Mike D'Antoni and Ime Udoka gone. NBA also put in the COVID policy, Kyrie playing in a liberal state, needed to get vaxxed, and refused by personal choice, suffered the consequences of not being able to play home games for the foreseeable future, could only be a part-time player, but the team didn't even let him practice after not complying. Super damaging, the turning point that made everything go downhill for Brooklyn. Harden still recovering from injury. Then early on, consistent regular season sharpshooter Joe Harris had an ankle injury, supposed to miss only 4 to 8 weeks, ended up out for the whole year after. Durant and Harden carried the heavy load, but both logged heavy minutes. Injuries to the road guys, Nick Claxton out over a month, and weeks into the season, nothing heard from Kyrie, very disconnected with the team and front office. The beginning of a hostile turmoil. Irving only brought back after the whole team basically had COVID. Scramble for players, KD MCL injury mid-January, devastating blow from being the 1 seed, a record 23-12, Harden banged up, and Irving showing no sense of urgency, couldn't be used for home games, had bad losing streaks. Harden simply had enough of Irving not willing to sacrifice for the team, forced out, played like crap before getting his wish, believed he sacrificed his body to come back trying to help KD in the playoffs. While Kyrie simply about Kyrie over the team, Nets got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 firsts, a trade some thought Brooklyn won, only for Simmons to be a no-show, a supposed back injury, a head case spoiled brat with talent and no work ethic, combined with Durant's lack of leadership and Kyrie causing his own drama. New York City eventually dropped the mandate for Irving, but too late. Team scrambled, ended up the play-in, a critical time where Simmons needed against Boston, provided false hope after being down 0-2. One of Durant's worst series. Simmons was never gonna play in the first place, got everyone hyped up for no reason, sat in the bench game 3, drew all the attention, looked like a fool. Nash out coached by Udoka, team too small. Of course, the franchise elected to not give Kyrie a max extension, only unless he played a certain amount of games the first 2 years. Of course, Kyrie being Kyrie declined and viewed it as disrespectful when he was disrespectful and being a bad teammate multiple times. Super unreliable, trade rumors all off season, no real suitors besides the desperate Lakers. Durant's former team won the title without him. Irving's former Celtics made the finals without him. Double losers. Durant demanded out. Team didn't want to give up their star players. With Minnesota packaging a ridiculous 4 first-round picks and multiple players for a guy like Rudy Gobert. Brooklyn wanted everybody and everything from other teams. Instead of trying to gather his teammates all summer to build a bond, team started out like none of the guys ever played with one another. No defense, Ben Simmons scared out of his mind, pathetically bad, missed the triple single, picked up where he left off versus the Hawks. Kyrie posted a video offensive to many, even had the team owner tweeting about it instead of privately discussing. To himself, 6 start didn't last long for Kyrie to be in the spotlight for negative reasons. Durant must be mentally exhausted, still a phenomenal player, but not a natural leader, with the undisciplined and diva prima donna Ben Simmons being drawn right in to make an impact. Teammates beg him to be aggressive. Sadly, doesn't seem to care about basketball. A waste of a contract, no rim protection, got bullied by Giannis. Having these guys on the roster, simply the worst personnel you can ask for, especially a guy like Ben Simmons who's just not gonna try very hard, trying to dig themselves out of a big hole. Brooklyn an absolute mess. The big three likely will stick around the entire 2023 season. If it's a first round exit, will likely blow up, trade the guys, save the massive headache. Durant and Irving perhaps might go down as the biggest failed duo of this generation. Both their legacies severely impacted negatively. At the end of the day, both need to look at themselves in the mirror, get serious, try to win basketball games, stop making excuses, figure shit out quick. Otherwise, heavy regrets and sorrow, nobody will be feeling bad. Durant absolutely made the costly mistake, making the decision to sign DeAndre Jordan, get rid of Atkinson for the worser Steve Nash who can't coach, taking a page out of LeBron's player empowerment playbook, while the Steph Currys and Giannis of the world let their GMs handle who the team gets. Those guys never complain, never demand their teams and put the pressure to sign this guy, give me that guy, give me him. They elevate their whole team, whoever's on the roster, and just dominate, win championships, and make no excuses. And now looking forward to hiring the controversial Ime Udoka, who's coming off a scandal of his own. This front office, ownership, absolutely hot garbage, piling on distractions to cover up for other distractions. Net fans absolutely turning on Kyrie and his nonsense garbage at this point. Can't go a freaking week without something else coming up controversial. All the damage already done to the team, from former assistant Amari Stoudemire quitting, telling his side of the story. Why would anybody cheer for this pathetic, disgusting, awful attitude of a team trying to be run by their stars? More Nets videos in the coming days. Stay tuned. Let me know which team you're most shocked by, the Lakers or Nets. Thank you so much for watching. I love all of you. See you next time.